They found my Bible at 3:47 in the morning. I know the exact time because I was staring at the clock on my bedroom wall when I heard my father's footsteps, slow, deliberate, like a judge walking to pronounce a death sentence. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. I felt it freeze in my chest like water turning to ice. The door didn't burst open. That would have been mercy. Instead, it opened slowly, quietly. The hinges made this soft groaning sound that I can still hear in my nightmares. And there he stood. Baba. My father. The man who once carried me on his shoulders through the souks of Riyadh, who bought me anything I pointed at, who told me I was his precious jewel. But the man in my doorway that night? I didn't recognize him. His eyes were black. Not brown, black. Like someone had scooped out everything human and replaced it with something else. Something cold. Dead. And in his right hand, he held it. My Bible. The one I'd hidden inside a hollowed-out copy of the Quran. The one I'd been reading every night for 3 months, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the pages. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood there. The silence was worse than screaming. I could hear my mother crying somewhere down the hallway. My 2 younger sisters were probably awake, pressing their ears to their doors, holding their breath. The whole villa felt like it was suffocating. Then he spoke. His voice was quiet. Calm. That's what made it terrifying. You have betrayed Allah. You have betrayed this family. You have betrayed your blood. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My throat had closed. I was 19 years old, wearing a silk nightgown that cost more than most people earned in a month, sitting on a bed with sheets softer than clouds, in a room bigger than most apartments. I had everything. Everything. 3 luxury cars with drivers waiting for my calls. Credit cards with no limits. A closet full of designer abayas and dresses I'd only worn once. Servants who knew my coffee order better than I did. But in that moment, I had nothing. Because the man who gave me everything was about to take my life. Baba, please, I finally whispered. Do not call me that. His voice cracked like a whip. You are no daughter of mine. He threw the Bible at me. It hit my chest and fell onto the white silk sheets. The contrast was almost funny, this worn, secret thing landing on all that expensive purity. I'd bought it from an underground seller I'd found through whispered connections, paid him in cash, wore sunglasses and a niqab so thick my own mother wouldn't recognize me. I'd risked everything to get it. And now it was going to kill me. At dawn, my father said, the family council will meet. They will decide your fate. But I already know what must be done. He turned to leave. Then stopped. Looked back at me. And I swear to God, to Jesus, the God who would later save my life, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Maybe regret. Maybe love. Maybe just the memory of love. It lasted half a second. Then it died. You should pray to Allah for mercy, he said. Though I doubt he will hear the prayers of an apostate. The door closed. I heard the lock click from the outside. They'd locked me in. I was a prisoner in my own golden cage. I sat there, staring at that Bible on my bed, and I started laughing. Not because anything was funny, but because my brain couldn't handle the terror, so it just broke. I laughed until I cried. Then I just cried. If you're watching this right now, maybe you think you know where this story goes. Maybe you've heard testimonies like this before. Ex-Muslim finds Jesus. Family rejects them. They escape. Happy ending. But you don't know what happened at dawn. You don't know what they did to me in that council room. You don't know about the fire. The impossible choice. The moment when the laws of physics themselves bent because Jesus was in that room with me. You don't know how I should be dead right now. But let me back up. Because you need to understand how I got here. You need to understand the prison I was living in, even when everyone thought I had paradise. You need to understand why a girl who had everything would risk it all for a God she'd been taught was a lie. My name is Alya. I was born into one of the wealthiest families in Saudi Arabia. My father owned construction companies, oil investments, real estate across 3 continents. We had houses in Riyadh, London, and Dubai. My mother wore jewelry that could fund a small hospital. My sisters and I attended the most exclusive schools, always chaperoned, always watched, always perfect. Perfect. That's what we had to be. Perfect Muslims. Perfect daughters. Perfect slaves. Because that's what we were, even if the chains were made of gold. I was engaged at 17 to a man I'd met twice. Both times with chaperones. Both times he looked at me like I was a car he was considering purchasing. He was 43. A business associate of my father's. 3 previous wives, divorced. But wealthy. Connected. Respectable. I smiled. Said yes. Because that's what perfect daughters do. But at night, alone in my room, I stared at the ceiling and felt like I was drowning in silk sheets. And I wondered, is this all there is? Is this what Allah wants for me? To be beautiful. To be silent. To be property? I prayed 5 times a day. Fasted during Ramadan until I was dizzy. Memorized surahs until my head ached. Wore my hijab perfectly. Never questioned. Never doubted. But I never felt anything. Allah was distant. Unknowable. Demanding. I obeyed him because I feared hell, not because I loved him. And deep down, in a place I was terrified to look, I wondered if he even saw me. If he even cared. That's when the dreams started. The ones where I saw a man in white. A man who looked at me like I mattered. Who spoke my name like it was precious. Who had scars on his hands. I didn't know who he was. Not yet. But something in my soul recognized him. And that recognition? That was the beginning of the end. My father wasn't always a monster. I need you to understand that. Because it makes what he became so much worse. I have memories, real memories, of him braiding my hair when I was 6. His large, calloused hands trying to be gentle, fumbling with the strands while I giggled. Of him sneaking me extra baklava after dinner when Ummi said I'd had enough. Of him teaching me to read, his voice patient and warm, his finger tracing the Arabic letters until I could sound them out myself. But that man died somewhere along the way. Or maybe he was always there, underneath. Maybe I just finally did something that let the mask slip. His name is Khalid al-Rashid. In our world, that name means power. It means fear. It means when he walks into a room, men stand. When he speaks, people listen. When he's angry, people disappear. I'm not exaggerating. 2 years before my story, one of his business partners tried to cheat him. Embezzled money from a construction project. The man was found 3 days later in the desert. The official report said heart attack. But everyone knew. Everyone always knew. My father never raised his voice. Never had to. He had this way of looking at you, through you, that made your blood turn cold. Like you were already dead and just didn't know it yet. His face was handsome once, I think. Strong jaw. High cheekbones. But years of ruthlessness had carved it into something hard. Stone. His beard was always perfectly trimmed, touched with gray at the temples. Distinguished, people said. I thought it made him look like a judge from the old days. The ones who watched executions. He wore traditional thobes at home, always white, always immaculate. His bisht, the cloak he wore for important occasions, was black with gold threading. It cost more than most cars. When he put it on, he looked like royalty. Like power itself wrapped in fabric. But it was his hands I remember most. Large. Strong. Hands that had built an empire. Hands that had held me as a child. Hands that, on that terrible morning after they found my Bible, would decide whether I lived or died. The family council convened at dawn, just as he'd promised. I hadn't slept. Couldn't. I'd spent the hours alternating between praying to Allah, begging him to save me, to change my father's heart, and reading that Bible one last time. John 14 verse 6. I kept coming back to it. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Through me. Not through ritual. Not through works. Not through fear. Through a person. Through Jesus. I didn't understand it fully. Not yet. But something in those words felt like water in a desert. Like air when you're drowning. At 6 a.m., my door unlocked. 2 of my uncles stood there. Uncle Rashid and Uncle Hamza. Men who'd given me Eid gifts. Who'd celebrated at my engagement party. Who'd smiled at me across dinner tables. They wouldn't look at me now. Come, Uncle Rashid said. Just that one word. I stood. My legs shook so badly I almost fell. I was still in my nightgown, but they didn't give me time to change. Didn't matter anyway. If they decided I was guilty, and of course I was guilty, modesty would be the least of my concerns. They walked me down the hallway. Our villa was massive. Marble floors so polished you could see your reflection. Crystal chandeliers from Italy. Original artwork on the walls, pieces worth hundreds of thousands. Gold accents everywhere. Even the doorknobs were plated in gold. I'd grown up thinking this was normal. This was just life. Now it felt like a palace built on sand. Beautiful and empty and about to collapse. We passed my sister's rooms. I could feel them behind their doors, listening. Layla was 16. Noor was 14. Were they scared for me? Or scared of me? Scared they'd be contaminated by my apostasy? My mother stood in the hallway near the council room. She wore a simple black abaya, her face uncovered since we were at home. Her eyes were swollen. Red. She'd been crying all night. When she saw me, she reached out, one hand, trembling, desperate. I started. Silence, Uncle Hamza snapped. You don't speak unless spoken to. My mother's hand dropped. She looked away. And I understood. She couldn't help me. Wouldn't help me. Because she was as much a prisoner as I was. Just a prisoner who'd learned to love her chains. They brought me into my father's study. He used it for important business meetings. Negotiations. Deals worth millions. Now it would be used for my trial. The room smelled like oud, that thick, woody Arabic perfume that wealthy men wear. It was overwhelming. Mixed with the smell of strong Arabic coffee brewing in the corner. Incense burning on the windowsill. Leather from the chairs. And underneath it all, my own fear. Sharp. Acrid. The smell of prey. 6 men sat in a semicircle. My father in the center, of course. My uncles on either side. My grandfather, ancient and shrunken but still sharp-eyed. And 2 religious scholars my father kept on retainer. Men who could quote the Quran and Hadith from memory. Men who could justify anything. My father didn't look at me. He was staring at the Bible on the desk in front of him. Next to it, my laptop. They'd searched my room. Of course they had. They'd found everything. My search history. The Christian videos I'd watched with the volume down low. The websites. The downloaded sermons. All of it. Every secret. Exposed. Alya. My father finally spoke. Still didn't look at me. Do you know what the punishment for apostasy is in Islam? My throat was dry. Yes, Baba. I told you not to call me that. His voice was ice. Answer the question. Death. I barely whispered it. Death, he repeated. Louder. Like he wanted everyone to hear. To understand. Not negotiable. Not debatable. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was clear. Whoever changes his religion, kill him. Sahih al-Bukhari. Do you deny this? No. Do you deny that you have been reading this? He gestured at the Bible like it was something diseased, this corrupted book. I could have lied. should have lied. Told them I was just curious. That I was testing my faith. That I never believed any of it. Cried. Begged. Played the role of the repentant daughter. But something in me, maybe it was Jesus, I don't know, something wouldn't let me. No. I don't deny it. My grandfather made a sound. Part gasp, part groan. Like I'd stabbed him. And do you believe what it says? My father continued. Do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? That he died for sins? That he rose from the dead? The room held its breath. This was it. The moment. The cliff edge. If I said no, maybe, I could walk out of this room alive. If I said yes. I thought of the dreams. The man in white. The peace I'd felt reading those words. The way my soul had come alive for the first time in my life. I looked at my father. Finally, he looked back at me. Those dead black eyes. Waiting. Yes, I said. I believe Jesus is the truth. My grandfather stood up, shaking. She has signed her own death warrant. One of the religious scholars nodded slowly. The law is clear. This is apostasy. The punishment is death. The family must carry it out to preserve honor. My father stood. Walked around the desk. Stood in front of me. So close I could smell the coffee on his breath. The oud in his beard. So close I could see the veins in his temples pulsing. You were my favorite, he said softly. Did you know that? Of all my children. You were the brightest. The most beautiful. I had such plans for you. Something in his voice almost sounded sad. Almost. But you have brought shame on this family. You have betrayed everything we are. Everything we believe. He turned to the council. Tomorrow night, we will have a gathering. Family. Close friends. We will make an announcement about Alya's accident. My blood froze. Accident? You will not be executed like a criminal, my father said. That would raise questions. Bring shame. No. Tomorrow night, there will be a fire. A tragic accident in your room. You will die in your sleep. Painlessly. We will mourn you properly. The family honor will remain intact. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. They were going to murder me and call it an accident. Burn me alive. And everyone would believe it. Everyone would come to my funeral and say what a tragedy. What a loss. Such a beautiful girl. And no one would know I'd been killed for loving Jesus. Please, I finally choked out. Please, I'll recant. I'll say I was wrong. I'll marry anyone you want. I'll be perfect. Too late. My father's voice was flat. Final. You showed your true heart. You cannot unring this bell. He nodded to my uncles. Take her back to her room. Lock it. No phone. No computer. No contact with anyone. Tomorrow night, this will be finished. They grabbed my arms. Started dragging me out. I tried to fight. Tried to scream. My voice came out broken, desperate. Ali Baba. Please. I'm your daughter. Ali Baba. He didn't turn around. Didn't even flinch. My mother was still in the hallway. As they dragged me past her, I reached for her. Ummi. Please. Help me. She looked at me. Tears streaming down her face. And she whispered, I'm sorry, Habibti. I'm sorry. Then she walked away. They threw me back in my room. The lock clicked. And I was alone. 24 hours. I had 24 hours to live. And the only one who could save me was the God I just admitted I believed in. The God my family wanted to burn me for. I collapsed on the floor, my body shaking so hard I thought I'd break apart. And I did the only thing I could do. I prayed. Not to Allah this time. Allah hadn't heard me in 19 years. Why would he start now? No. I prayed to Jesus. The man from my dreams. The man whose words had felt like life itself. Jesus, I sobbed into the marble floor. If you're real, if you really are who you say you are, please. Please. I don't want to die. I don't want to burn. Please, save me. Nothing happened. No voice. No vision. Just silence. Just me. Alone in my golden cage. Waiting to die. Have you ever prayed to someone you weren't sure was listening? That's where I lived for the next 12 hours. In that terrible space between hope and despair. Between faith and fear. Between life and death. I stayed on that marble floor for so long my body went numb. The coldness seeped into my bones, but I barely felt it. What's cold marble compared to the ice in your chest when you know you're going to die tomorrow? When you know your own father is going to murder you and sleep peacefully afterward? The morning light came through my window. Gold and warm and beautiful. Mocking me. I watched the sun climb higher and thought, tomorrow, I won't see this. Tomorrow, I'll be ash. Bones. A name people whisper about in careful tones. Did you hear about Khalid's daughter? The oldest one? Terrible tragedy. Fire in her room. So young. So beautiful. May Allah grant her Jannah. Except I wouldn't be in Jannah. According to everything I'd been taught my entire life, I was going to hell. Jahannam. The fire I'd escape tomorrow would be nothing compared to the eternal fire waiting for me. An apostate. A betrayer. A kafir. That's what they'd call me. Unbeliever. But I did believe. That was the problem. I believed in the wrong God. I pulled myself up to my bed, my legs shaking. My body felt like it belonged to someone else. Like I was already becoming a ghost. I looked at my room, really looked at it, maybe for the last time. The walls were cream-colored, with delicate gold leaf patterns near the ceiling. My bed was enormous, with posts carved from dark wood imported from somewhere expensive. My closet was the size of most people's bedrooms, filled with clothes I'd never wear again. Designer abayas in every color. Dresses for parties I'd never attend. Shoes that cost thousands of reals, still in their boxes. On my vanity sat perfume bottles, French, exclusive, the kind you can't just buy in stores. Crystal. Gold caps. They caught the morning light and made little rainbows on the wall. I used to spend an hour getting ready for family dinners, making sure everything was perfect. My hair. My makeup. My jewelry. What did any of it matter now? I walked to my window. We were on the 3rd floor, overlooking the gardens. Perfectly manicured lawns. Palm trees. A fountain that cost more than most houses. I'd played there as a child. Run through the sprinklers on hot summer days while servants chased me with towels, laughing. Was I happy then? Or was I just too young to know I was in prison? I pressed my forehead against the glass. It was already hot. The Saudi sun doesn't care about your tragedy. It just burns. I could see guards patrolling the perimeter of our estate. Security cameras everywhere. Walls topped with decorative, but functional, spikes. My father built a fortress. And I was his prisoner. I turned back to my room, and my eyes landed on the prayer mat rolled up in the corner. How many times had I knelt on that mat? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Pressing my forehead to the ground, reciting words I'd memorized before I understood them. Allahu Akbar. God is the greatest. But which God? The God who demanded my death for seeking truth? Or the God who died so I could have life? I walked to the mat. Unrolled it. It faced east, toward Mecca. Toward the Kaaba. The black cube we'd been taught was the house of God. I'd been there twice for Umrah. Seen it with my own eyes. Circled it with thousands of other pilgrims, all of us moving like a river around a stone. I'd felt nothing. Just heat. Exhaustion. The pressure of bodies. The fear of being crushed. But I'd smiled. Cried the right tears. Told everyone it was the most spiritual experience of my life. We're so good at lying, aren't we? Especially to ourselves. I knelt on the mat. Old habits. Muscle memory. I raised my hands to my ears, ready to begin. Allahu Akbar. The words died in my throat. I couldn't do it. Couldn't go through the motions one more time. Couldn't pretend that Allah was listening when I'd never, not once in 19 years, felt Him hear me. I thought about all the prayers I'd prayed. All the times I'd begged for things. Small things. Big things. Please let me do well on my exam. Please let Baba be in a good mood. Please let my engagement to that old man somehow fall through. Please let me matter. Please let me be more than property. Please let me be seen. Silence. Always silence. Oh, I'd told myself Allah answered prayers. That his ways were mysterious. That he knew best. That I just needed more faith. More obedience. More submission. But submission to what? To a God who never spoke. Never held. Never comforted. A God whose primary emotion seemed to be anger? I'd read the Quran cover to cover 3 times. In Arabic. I'd memorized surahs. I knew what it said. I knew the verses about Allah's mercy, about his compassion. But I also knew the other verses. The ones about hellfire for unbelievers. The ones about women being worth half of men. The ones about wives being fields for men to plow. The ones about beating disobedient women. The ones about sex slaves being permissible. The ones about killing apostates. And when I'd asked questions, careful, quiet questions, I'd been told not to question. That Allah's wisdom was beyond my understanding. That doubt was from Shaitan. That a good Muslim girl doesn't ask why, she just obeys. So I obeyed. And obeyed. And obeyed. Until I was so empty I didn't recognize myself anymore. I collapsed forward on the prayer mat, my face against the woven fabric. It smelled like dust and old incense. And I screamed. Actually screamed into it, muffling the sound so no one would hear. Where are you? I shouted at the ceiling, at Mecca, at the God who'd owned me my entire life but never known me. Where have you been? I did everything. Everything. I prayed. I fasted. I obeyed. I wore the hijab. I memorized your words. I never missed a prayer. I was perfect. My voice cracked. Broke. And you gave me nothing. You gave me silence. You gave me a father who wants to burn me alive. You gave me a mother too scared to save her own daughter. You gave me a life that looks like gold and feels like a grave. I was sobbing now. Gasping. I'm going to die tomorrow. Do you even care? Did you ever care? Or am I just nothing to you? Just another slave you don't bother listening to? The room was silent. The sun kept climbing. The fountain outside kept flowing. The world kept turning. And Allah said nothing. I don't know how long I lay there. Time stopped meaning anything. Hours, maybe. I heard the call to prayer from the mosque down the street, that haunting sound I'd found beautiful once. Now it just sounded like chains rattling. My sisters brought me food at midday. They slid a tray through a slot at the bottom of my door, like I was already in a cell. Rice. Lamb. Things I used to love. I didn't touch it. What's the point of eating when you're about to be executed? I heard Layla whisper through the door. Alya? Are you okay? I almost laughed. Okay? Was I okay? No, Layla. I'm not okay. I'm going to die tomorrow because I told the truth. Silence. Then, why did you do it? Why did you say yes? You could have lied. You could have lived a lie. I finished for her. Spent the rest of my life pretending? Married to a man who disgusts me? Praying to a God who never answers? Is that what you want for me? More silence. Then I heard her crying. Soft. Muffled. I don't want you to die. Then help me, I said. Unlock the door. Help me escape. Please, Layla. You're my sister. I can't. Her voice was tiny. Broken. Baba would heed. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. We both knew. If she helped me, she'd be next. Go away, Layla, I said. Not angry. Just tired. Just go away. I heard her footsteps retreat. And I was alone again. The afternoon sun turned the room into an oven. Sweat dripped down my back. My head pounded from dehydration, from crying, from fear. I dragged myself to the bathroom, drank water from the sink with my hands. Looked at myself in the mirror. I looked dead already. Eyes sunken. Lips cracked. Hair matted. This wasn't the perfect daughter. The beautiful bride-to-be. The princess in the golden cage. This was just a girl. Scared. Alone. Waiting to burn. I slid down the bathroom wall, sitting on the cold tile. And I tried praying to Jesus again. Jesus, I whispered. I don't know how to do this. I don't know the right words. I don't know if you even want to hear from me. I'm not Christian. I wasn't baptized. I didn't grow up knowing you. I'm just a Muslim girl who read your words and felt something I've never felt before. My voice shook. I felt loved. For the first time in my life, reading about you, I felt like maybe God actually likes me. Not just demands from me. Not just rules and fear and punishment. But actually cares. Tears streamed down my face. Is that real? Is that who you are? Or am I just desperate? Am I just so terrified of dying that I'm inventing a God who loves me because I can't face the truth that maybe there's nothing. Maybe when I burn tomorrow, that's just it. The end. Nothing. I waited. Listening. Hoping. Silence. Just like with Alya. Just silence. And something inside me shattered. That last little piece of hope I'd been clinging to. It broke. Snapped. Died. You're not there either, are you? I said bitterly. Or maybe you are, but you don't care about girls like me. Muslim girls. Girls who found you too late. Girls who are going to die before they ever got to really know you. I pulled my knees to my chest. Rocked back and forth. I'm going to hell, aren't I? Muslims say I'm going to hell for leaving Islam. Christians probably say I'm going to hell because I didn't accept you the right way. Didn't get baptized. Didn't join a church. Didn't have enough time. My voice dropped to a whisper. I just wanted truth. That's all. I just wanted to know if God actually loved me. And now I'm going to die. And I'll never know. The sun started to set. My last sunset. The room turned orange, then pink, then purple. Beautiful. The most beautiful sky I'd ever seen. I watched it until the darkness came. And in that darkness, I made my peace with dying. What else could I do? No one was coming to save me. Not Allah. Not Jesus. Not my family. Not anyone. I was alone. Tomorrow night, I would burn. And then, nothing. Or hell. Or something I couldn't imagine. But this life, this prison, this endless silence, would be over. I crawled into my bed. Pulled the silk sheets up to my chin. Closed my eyes. And I whispered one last prayer. Not to Allah. Not to Jesus. Just into the void. If there's a God out there who actually loves me, I wish I'd met you sooner. Then I waited for sleep. Or dawn. Or death. Whichever came first. But sleep didn't come. How could it? When you know you have less than 24 hours left to breathe, your body refuses to waste a single moment. Every heartbeat feels precious. Every breath feels stolen. Time becomes this sharp, painful thing you can almost taste. I lay there in the darkness, staring at my ceiling, and my mind kept drifting back to 3 months earlier. To the moment everything changed. The moment I found the thing that would eventually kill me. Or save me. I still didn't know which. It started with a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. I was at a family gathering, one of those elaborate affairs where the women sat in one section and the men in another, and we all pretended to enjoy ourselves. My cousin Rania was there. She was 22, married, pregnant with her second child. On the surface, she was everything a good Muslim woman should be. Obedient. Quiet. Always smiling, but I caught her in the bathroom, crying. Mascara running down her face, her hands shaking as she gripped the marble sink. Rania? I'd closed the door behind me. What's wrong? She looked at me with these hollow eyes. Nothing. I'm fine. You're not fine. She laughed. This bitter, broken sound. No. I'm not. But what does it matter? This is my life now. This is every woman's life. We smile. We obey. We have babies. We die. That's it. I'd never heard her talk like that. Never heard any woman in my family talk like that. We all thought it. But we never said it out loud. Is your husband? I didn't finish the question. Didn't need to. She nodded. He's not violent. Just cold. I'm just a thing to him. Something he owns. Like his car. Like his house. I asked him once if he loved me. He looked confused. like I'd asked him if he loved his refrigerator. She wiped her eyes, smearing makeup across her face. I tried praying. Tried reading Quran. Tried being more submissive. More perfect. Nothing changes. Nothing helps. And I realized, maybe this is just what Allah wants for us. Maybe we're not meant to be happy. Just obedient. Then she said something that would haunt me for weeks, but I met someone online. A woman. She was Muslim too. She left Islam. Became Christian. My blood had frozen. Rania, you can't talk about things like that. If anyone heard. I know. She looked at me intensely. But Alya, she seemed free. Actually free. She talked about Jesus like he was her friend. Like God actually knew her name. Cared about her. Not just what she did or didn't do, but her. Who she is. That's blasphemy, I'd whispered. But my voice shook. Is it? Ranya's eyes searched mine. Or is it truth we're too scared to look at? She'd left the bathroom after that. Went back to the party. Smiled and laughed and played her role. But she'd planted something in my mind. A seed. A question. What if everything we'd been taught was a lie? I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, alone in my room, I did something I'd never done before. I opened my laptop, the one my father bought me but monitored carefully, and I searched. Not obviously. I wasn't stupid. I didn't type Christianity or Jesus or leaving Islam. That would have triggered alerts. My father had software that tracked everything. Instead, I searched for Islamic apologetic. Why Islam is true. Proof Islam is the right religion. How to answer Christians. Things that looked faithful. Things that wouldn't raise suspicions. But then I started reading the Christian responses. The arguments. The questions I'd never thought to ask. Why did the Quran say that Christians and Jews corrupted their scriptures, but also say that Allah's words can be changed? That's a contradiction. Why did the Quran tell Muhammad to ask the people of the book, Christians and Jews, if he had doubts, if their books were corrupted? Why did Allah need to abrogate, cancel, verses he'd supposedly revealed? Doesn't God know the future? Why would he change his mind? Why did Muhammad's revelations so conveniently solve his personal problems? Permission to marry his adopted son's wife. Permission to have more than 4 wives when other men couldn't. Permission to have sex with slaves. Questions. So many questions I'd never been allowed to ask. I spent that whole night reading. Terrified. Exhilarated. Like I'd opened a door I could never close again. And then I found a testimony. A video. A woman from Pakistan, her face covered to protect her identity, telling her story of leaving Islam for Jesus. She described the same emptiness I felt. The same desperate prayers to Allah that went unanswered. The same sense of being a slave to a master who didn't love her. And then she described meeting Jesus. In a dream. He appeared to her, glowing, radiant, full of love, and he said her name. Her actual name. And he told her, "I died for you. Not because you earned it. Not because you were good enough. But because I love you." She cried telling the story. And I cried watching it. Because I wanted that. God, I wanted that so badly it physically hurt. But I was terrified. Terrified of hell. Terrified of my family. Terrified that maybe it was all just wishful thinking. That maybe I was being deceived by Shaitan, and I'd end up burning in Jahannam forever because I was weak. So I decided to be smart about it. Scientific. I'd investigate. Test both sides. If Islam was true, it could withstand questions. If Christianity was false, I'd be able to prove it. I started watching debates. Christians versus Muslims. At first, I rooted for the Muslims. Wanted them to win. Needed them to win. But they didn't. Or maybe they did and I just couldn't see it anymore. Because the more I watched, the more I realized the Muslim arguments were circular. The Quran is true because the Quran says it's true. Muhammad was a prophet because the Quran says so. You just have to have faith. But the Christian arguments, they pointed to history. To archaeology. To manuscripts. To eyewitness testimony. To prophecies written hundreds of years before Jesus that he fulfilled. To the resurrection, the fact that something happened that made cowards become martyrs, willing to die for what they'd seen. I didn't want to believe it. But the evidence kept piling up. Then came the hardest part. Actually reading the Bible. Getting one was nearly impossible. You can't just walk into a bookstore in Saudi Arabia and buy a Bible. It's illegal. Forbidden. Haram. But I found a seller. Through encrypted messages. Through layers of secrecy. A man who ran an underground network smuggling Christian materials to seeking Muslims. I met him in a shopping mall, wearing a full niqab, sunglasses, gloves. I looked like any other conservative Saudi woman. He passed me a shopping bag from a clothing store. Inside, hidden under scarves and fabric, was the Bible. I paid him in cash. He never saw my face. I never saw his. I smuggled it home inside a bag of groceries, hidden under vegetables and rice. Took it to my room. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold it. It was small. English translation. The cover was plain black. Unremarkable. But holding it felt like holding a bomb. Because if anyone found it, it would explode my entire life. I hid it inside a hollowed-out Quran. The irony wasn't lost on me. The book that was supposed to be Allah's final word, protecting the book that claimed to be God's true word. That first night, I locked my door. Turned off my phone. Sat on my bed with my heart hammering so loud I was sure someone would hear it through the walls. I opened to the Gospel of John. Someone online had said to start there. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I stopped. Read it again. The Word was God. Not the word was just information. Not the word was just rules. The word, capital W, was a person. Was God Himself. I kept reading. He was in the world, and though the world was made through Him, the world did not recognize Him. He came to that which was His own, but His own did not receive Him. Yet to all who did receive Him, to those who believed in His name, He gave the right to become children of God. Children of God. Not slaves. Children. I started crying. Right there. First page. Because in Islam, we were never children. We were ABD, slaves. That was the highest title. Abdullah. Slave of God. And we were told to be proud of that. But this said I could be a daughter. That God could be my father. Not my master. My father. I read for hours. Through the night. I couldn't stop. Jesus turning water into wine at a wedding, caring about people's joy, their celebration. Jesus touching lepers, the untouchables, the unclean, and healing them with tenderness. Jesus talking to the Samaritan woman at the well, a woman, alone, a sinner, and offering her living water. Not condemning her. Not using her. Seeing her. Jesus stopping an execution, standing between an adulteress and the men who wanted to stone her, saying, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." Showing mercy. Offering a second chance. Jesus weeping when his friend died. God crying. Because He loved. Because He felt pain. Because He was human enough to grieve. This wasn't the God I knew. This wasn't Allah, distant, demanding, unknowable. This was Emmanuel. God with us. God who came down. Who touched. Who wept. Who loved. And then I got to the part that broke me completely. John 3 verse 16. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. God so loved. Not God so judged. Not God so demanded. Not God so tested. God so loved. And because of that love, He gave. He sacrificed. He sent His Son, His own Son, to die. For me. For the world. For sinners. Not because we earned it. Not because we were good enough. Not because we prayed 5 times a day or fasted or memorized holy books. Just because He loved us. I pressed the Bible to my chest and sobbed into my pillow, muffling the sound. Because if this was true, if even a fraction of this was true, then everything I'd been told my whole life was a lie. Allah never loved me. He tolerated me if I obeyed. Threatened me if I didn't. Kept a balance scale, weighing my good deeds against my bad, and maybe, if I was lucky, I'd tip the scales in the right direction and earn Jannah. But there were no guarantees. Even Muhammad didn't know if he'd make it to paradise. Even the Prophet was uncertain. But Jesus promised. Whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. Not might. Not maybe. Not if you're good enough. shall not perish. It was a promise, a guarantee, based not on what I did, but on what He'd already done. I read that Bible every night for 3 months, hiding it, memorizing verses in case it was discovered and destroyed, falling more and more in love with this Jesus who loved me first. And I started having the dreams where I saw Him. Not clearly at first, just a figure in white, bright, warm. He never spoke in those early dreams, just stood there, watching me, waiting. But I felt safe in those dreams, safer than I'd ever felt awake. And I knew, I didn't know how, but I knew that the figure was Jesus. That He was real. That He was calling me. That's when I started praying to Him. Not formally. Not with memorized words or ritual positions. Just talking. Like He was in the room with me. Jesus, I don't understand all of this. But I want to. I want to know You. I want what these verses describe. I want to be loved like that. I want to be free. And slowly, so slowly, I felt something changing inside me. Something waking up. Like I'd been dead my whole life and was finally starting to breathe. Until they found the Bible. Until my father locked me in this room. Until I had less than a day to live. Now, lying in my bed in the darkness, I reached under my pillow. They'd taken the Bible. Taken my laptop. Taken everything. But they hadn't taken what I'd hidden in my heart. I whispered the verses I'd memorized. My voice barely audible, like prayers breathed into the night. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I'm weary, Jesus. So weary. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Are you? Are you really? For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Do I have a future? Or does it end tomorrow in fire? I will never leave you nor forsake you. Then where are you now? Where are you when I need you most? The silence pressed down on me. Heavy. Suffocating. And I realized something. I'd traded one silent God for another. Allah never answered. And now, on the last night of my life, Jesus wasn't answering either. Maybe I was a fool. Maybe Rania was wrong. Maybe that Pakistani woman's testimony was a lie. Maybe I'd thrown away my life, my family, my future, for nothing. Tomorrow, I would know. Tomorrow, when the flames came, I'd discover if there was anyone on the other side. Anyone waiting for me. Anyone who actually cared. But tonight, all I had was darkness. And doubt. And silence. I closed my eyes. And I whispered one more time, Jesus, if you're real, please. Please don't let me die alone. I don't know what time it was when sleep finally took me. But I know exactly when I woke up. Because I wasn't in my room anymore. I was standing in a garden. Not the manicured, artificial gardens of our estate with their imported plants and strategic lighting. This was different. Wild. Alive. Ancient. The grass beneath my bare feet was soft, cool, wet with dew. I could feel each blade between my toes. The air smelled like jasmine and something else, something clean and pure that I'd never smelled before. Like the air before creation was corrupted. Before pollution. Before sin. Above me, the sky was impossible. Colors I don't have names for. Not quite purple, not quite gold, but something in between and beyond. Stars hung so close I felt like I could reach up and touch them. And they were singing. I know how insane that sounds, but I heard it. The stars were singing. This low, resonant hum that made my chest vibrate. Like the universe itself was worshipping. I looked down at myself. I was wearing white. Not my nightgown, I wasn't wearing anything I recognized. Just a simple white garment that flowed like water, like light. And I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. The terror that had been choking me for 2 days was gone. Just gone. Where am I? I whispered. You're with me. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It resonated in my bones, in my blood, in the deepest part of my soul. It was a voice that felt like home, like I'd been waiting my entire life to hear it and just didn't know. I turned. And I saw him. Jesus. I knew it was him the way you know your own name. The way you know the sun is warm. The way you know you're breathing. It wasn't a guess or a hope. It was knowledge that bypassed my brain entirely and wrote itself directly onto my heart. He was standing about 10 feet away, and he was. I don't have words. I've tried to explain this to people since, and I always fail. Because human language wasn't built to describe what I saw. He was radiant. But not like the sun that burns your eyes. More like he was the source of all light, and everything else was just a reflection. He wore white robes that seemed to move even though there was no wind. And his face. His face was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And also the most terrible. Beautiful because it was full of love, such love that it hurt to look at. Terrible because it was holy. So holy that I immediately understood how filthy I was in comparison. Every sin, every selfish thought, every moment of pride or hatred or lust, it all felt exposed. Naked. Visible. I should have been terrified. Should have wanted to run. But I couldn't move. Couldn't look away. His eyes held me. They were brown, dark, deep brown, but they held light inside them. And when he looked at me, I felt seen. Not just observed. Seen. Known. Every secret. Every wound. Every fear. Every hope. He saw all of it. All of me. And he didn't look away in disgust. He smiled. It was a small smile. Gentle. The way you'd smile at a child who's been lost and finally found their way home. And that smile broke something inside me. Shattered it. All the walls I'd built, all the pretending, all the perfect masks, they crumbled to dust. I collapsed. Fell to my knees in that impossible grass. And I started weeping. Not quiet tears. Not dignified crying. I'm talking about gut-wrenching sobs that tore out of my chest like something was being ripped out of me. I'm sorry, I choked out. I'm so sorry. I'm not good enough. I'm not, I've sinned so much. I've lied and hated and doubted and… Alya. He said my name. My name. And the way he said it, like it was precious. Like it meant something. Like I meant something. I looked up at him through my tears. He was closer now. Just a few feet away. And I could see his hands. There were scars on them. Holes. Through his wrists, his palms. Wounds that should have killed him. Wounds that had killed him. For me. You died, I whispered. You died for me. Even though you knew I'd sin. Even though you knew I'd doubt. Even though you knew I'd waste so much of my life following the wrong path. You still died for me. Yes. His voice was gentle. Firm. I died for you before you were born. Before you sinned. Before you doubted. I saw you, Alya. From the foundation of the world, I saw you. And I chose you. And I said, she is worth dying for. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what he was saying. But I'm nobody. I'm just a Muslim girl who read your words and… You're my daughter. The words hit me like a physical force. Daughter. Not slave. Not property. Not a thing to be bought or sold or burned when I become inconvenient. Daughter. You called out to me, Jesus continued, moving even closer. In your room. In your fear. In your despair. You said you wished you'd met me sooner. Alya, I've been waiting for you your entire life. Every moment. Every prayer you prayed to a God who couldn't hear you, I heard them. Every tear you cried into your pillow, I caught them. Every time you felt alone, I was there. Waiting. Calling. Hoping you'd turn around and see me. But why? My voice broke. Why do you love me? I haven't earned it. I haven't done anything to deserve. Love isn't earned, child. Love is given. Freely. Completely. Without conditions. He knelt down. Jesus, God in flesh, knelt down in front of me. So we were eye to eye. And he reached out his scarred hands and took my face gently, his thumbs wiping away my tears. His touch was warm. Real. Solid. This wasn't just a vision. This was him. Actually him. Touching me. Holding me. I don't love you because of what you do, he said softly. I love you because of who you are. My creation. My child. Formed in my image. You bear my fingerprints, Alya. You always have. And nothing, not your family, not your religion, not your fear, not even your sin, nothing can erase that. I leaned into his hands, into that touch. And something inside me that had been frozen my entire life started to thaw. Started to come alive. I'm going to die tomorrow, I whispered. My Father is going to burn me alive. Jesus' eyes held mine. There was sorrow in them. But also, something else. Something like steel. Like resolve. Are you afraid? He asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. And I realized. No. Not right now. Not with you here. But when I wake up, I will be there too, he said firmly. Alya, listen to me. I didn't bring you this far to abandon you. I didn't plant my truth in your heart just to let it be snuffed out. I have plans for you. Purpose for you. Your story isn't over. It's only just beginning. But how? I asked desperately. I'm locked in my room. My whole family wants me dead. There's no way out. No escape. It's impossible. And Jesus smiled again. Bigger this time. And there was something almost playful in it. Child, I walked on water. I fed thousands with a few loaves and fish. I raised the dead. I rose from the grave. Do you really think a locked door can stop me? Do you really think your Father's plans are bigger than mine? He stood, pulling me up with him. His hands held mine. Those scarred, beautiful hands. Tomorrow, when the fire comes, you will not burn. Tomorrow, when death reaches for you, I will stand between you and it. Tomorrow, you will see my power. My glory. My love made manifest. And everyone who witnesses it will know that I am God. That I am real. That I am with you. My heart was pounding. What do I do? How do I? Trust me. He squeezed my hands. When the moment comes, when everything seems lost, when the flames surround you, trust me. Don't recant. Don't deny. Stand firm. Proclaim my name. And I will move heaven and earth to save you. I'm scared, I admitted. Not right now. But I know when I wake up, I'll be scared again. Fear is not sin, Alya. Fear is human. Even I felt fear in Gethsemane. I sweat blood, knowing what was coming. But I went anyway. Because love is stronger than fear. And my love for you is stronger than your fear of death. He pulled me close. Wrapped his arms around me. Held me like my father never did. Like my mother couldn't. Like I'd always desperately needed. And I felt it. Actually felt it. The love of God. Not as a concept. Not as a doctrine. But as a reality. As a presence. As a tangible, overwhelming, consuming force that filled every empty space inside me. I was loved. Completely. Perfectly. Eternally. Not because I'd earned it. Not because I was good enough. just because he chose to love me. And it was enough. It was more than enough. I don't know how long we stood there. Time felt different in that place. Like it didn't matter. Like eternity was happening in a moment. But eventually, he pulled back. Looked at me with those eyes that held stars and suns and galaxies. "It's almost dawn," he said. "Your last day. But not your end. Remember what I told you. Trust me. Stand firm. And when the miracle comes, and it will come, Alya, I promise you it will come, tell everyone what you saw here. Tell them about me. Tell them that I am real. That I love them. That I died for them. That nothing, not religion, not family, not culture, not fear, nothing can separate them from my love if they choose to receive it. I will, I promised. I'll tell them. Everyone. I'll spend the rest of my life telling them." "Good." He smiled. "That's all I ask. Just be my witness. My voice. My hands and feet in a world that's forgotten what love looks like." The garden started to fade. The colors bled into each other. The stars stopped singing. And I felt myself being pulled away, back toward reality, back toward my body, back toward my locked room and my death sentence. "Jesus." I called out, desperate. "Don't leave me." His voice echoed through the fading light. Strong. Clear. Unshakable. "I will never leave you, daughter. Not in life. Not in death. Not in fire. Not in fear. I am with you. Always. Until the end of the age. This is my promise. My covenant. My vow. I love you," I cried. "I love you, Jesus. I love you." "I know, child." His voice was the last thing I heard as the garden disappeared completely. "I've always known. That's why I called you. That's why I claimed you. That's why I'll save you. Welcome home, daughter. Welcome home." I woke up gasping. My room. My bed. The early morning light just starting to creep through my window. It was dawn. My last day. Execution day. But I wasn't afraid. I sat up, my body shaking, but not from fear. From power. From presence. From the residue of the holy touching the broken. I looked at my hands. They were the same hands. But they felt different. Alive. Awake. Claimed. I looked around my room. Same marble floors. Same gold fixtures. Same luxury prison. But I saw it differently now. Because I knew something they didn't. My father. My family. The council. All of them. They thought they had power over me. They thought they could decide my fate. They thought fire could destroy me. But they were wrong. Because I belonged to Jesus now. And he'd made me a promise. I got out of bed. Walked to my window. Watched the sun rise over the gardens and the walls and the guards and the gates. And I smiled. Not because I wanted to die. I didn't. I wanted to live. Desperately. But because I knew something they didn't. Today, they were going to try to kill me. And today, Jesus was going to stop them. Today, the impossible was going to happen. Today, everyone was going to see that my God wasn't silent, wasn't distant, wasn't powerless. Today, they were going to meet Jesus, whether they wanted to or not. I pressed my forehead against the glass and whispered, I trust you. I'm scared. But I trust you. Do what you're going to do. And I'll tell them. I'll tell everyone. I promise. The sun climbed higher. My last day had begun. And I was ready. The day moved like a funeral procession. Slow. Heavy. Inevitable. They brought me breakfast. I ate it. Not because I was hungry, but because I needed strength for what was coming. Rice. Dates. Yogurt. I tasted nothing. Just chewed. Swallowed. Prepared. I could hear activity in the house. Voices. Movement. They were preparing for tonight. For the gathering my father had mentioned. The witnesses to my tragic accident. Family. Close friends. People who needed to see. To believe the lie. Around noon, my mother came to my door. I heard her voice through the wood, thin and shaking. Alya, Habibti, please. Just tell them you were wrong. Tell them you'll be a good Muslim again. Tell them anything. Please. I can't. I can't lose you. I walked to the door. Pressed my palm against it. Ummi, do you love me? Silence. Then, of course I do. You're my daughter. Then why won't you save me? More silence. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice was broken. Because I can't. Because if I help you, they'll kill me too. And your sisters. Don't you understand? This is bigger than us. This is about honor. About family. About fear, I finished quietly. You're afraid, Ummi. And I understand. I was afraid too. For so long. But I'm not anymore. How? She sounded desperate. How can you not be afraid? They're going to burn you alive tonight, Alya. Do you understand that? Burn you. And you'll die. And it will hurt. And she was crying now. Sobbing. And I have to stand there and watch and pretend it's an accident, Anne. Jesus will save me. The words hung in the air. I heard her gasp. Don't say that, she hissed. Don't say that name. That's why this is happening. That's why. His name is the only reason I'm still sane right now, I said firmly. Jesus. Jesus Christ. the Son of God, the Savior, the one who actually loves me, who died for me, who came to me last night and promised he wouldn't let me burn. You're delusional, my mother whispered. You've gone crazy. The stress has. Maybe, I admitted. Or maybe I'm the only sane one in this family. Maybe spending your whole life afraid of a God who demands but never gives, who threatens but never loves, who takes but never saves, maybe that's the real insanity. I heard her slide down the door. Sitting on the floor on her side, me on mine. Just a piece of wood between us. Might as well have been an ocean. I wish I'd been braver, she finally said. So quiet I almost didn't hear. I wish I'd protected you. I wish I'd, but I can't. I'm not strong enough. I know, And I did. I wasn't angry at her anymore. Just sad. Sad for the woman who'd been broken so thoroughly she couldn't even save her own child. I forgive you. She made this sound. Part sob, part groan. Like something dying. Then I heard her stand. Walk away. Her footsteps fading down the hall. That was the last time I heard my mother's voice. The hours crawled. I prayed. Paced. Recited the verses I'd memorized. Reminded myself of what Jesus had said. Tried to hold on to that peace from the garden. But as the sun started to set, as the sky turned orange and red, the colors of fire, the fear came back. Creeping in. Whispering. What if it wasn't real? What if it was just a dream? What if Jesus doesn't show up? What if you burn and there's no miracle and you die screaming and it's all for nothing? No, I said out loud. No. I trust him. He promised. He doesn't lie. He's not like, I stopped. Almost said he's not like Allah. But that felt disrespectful. Even though it was true. Jesus wasn't like Allah. Jesus kept his promises. Jesus showed up. Jesus loved. I had to believe that. Had to cling to it. Because if I didn't, I'd lose my mind. At 8 p.m., I heard cars arriving. Voices. Greetings. The sound of my family welcoming guests. I recognized some of the voices. Uncles. Aunts. My grandfather. Family friends. Business associates. 40, maybe 50 people. All there to witness my execution disguised as an accident. At 8:30, my door unlocked. Uncle Rashid and Uncle Hamza stood there. Their faces were blank. Emotionless. Like they'd shut down anything human inside themselves. It's time, Uncle Rashid said. They didn't grab me. Didn't drag me. Just waited. Expecting me to walk to my own death with dignity. And I did. I stood. Smoothed my dress, still the same nightgown I'd been wearing for 2 days. I probably looked terrible. Hair unwashed. Face pale. Eyes ringed with exhaustion. But I held my head high. I walked out of that room, down the hallway, down the stairs, through my home, my golden cage, for what I thought might be the last time. The gathering was in the main reception hall, our largest room, usually reserved for parties and celebrations. Tonight, it was full of witnesses. Everyone turned when I entered. Silence fell like a hammer. I scanned the faces. My grandfather, his ancient eyes full of disappointment. My sisters, Layla and Noor, holding each other, crying. My mother, standing behind my father, her face hidden behind her hands. Aunts and uncles. Cousins. Family friends who'd watched me grow up. And at the center, standing like a king on his throne, my father. Khalid al-Rashid. The man who decided I was worth less than his reputation. He wore his black bisht with gold threading. That cloak of power. His face was carved from stone. But I saw something flicker in his eyes when he looked at me. Something that might have been regret. Or maybe just the memory of love, dying. Alya. He didn't call me daughter. Just my name. You stand accused of apostasy. Of betraying Islam. Of bringing shame upon this family. Do you deny these charges? The room held its breath. This was my last chance. My final opportunity to recant. To lie. To save myself. I looked at my father. Then at all the faces watching me. Judging me. Waiting for me to break. And I thought of Jesus. Of his scarred hands. Of his promise. Of his love. I opened my mouth. And I spoke clearly. Loudly. So everyone could hear. I don't deny it. I am not a Muslim anymore. I believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe he died for my sins and rose from the dead. I believe he is the only way to salvation. I believe he loves me. And I believe he is Lord. Gasps. Shouts. My grandfather roared something about blasphemy. My mother collapsed. Several people stood, angry, offended, horrified. But my father just stared at me. And for a moment, just a moment, I saw pain in his eyes. Real pain. Then it hardened. Turned to stone. So be it, he said. You have sealed your fate with your own words. You will die an apostate. May Allah have mercy on your soul. Though I doubt he will. He nodded to my uncles. Take her to her room. Begin the process. They grabbed my arms. Started pulling me toward the stairs. And I realized this was it. This was the moment. The fire. The execution. The impossible situation. Where was Jesus? Where was the miracle? Fear clawed at my throat. He's not coming. You were wrong. You're going to die. You're going to burn. No. I heard myself scream. Not in fear. In faith. In defiance. Jesus. Jesus, help me. Save me. Like you promised. Silence her, my father ordered. Uncle Hamza clamped his hand over my mouth. They dragged me up the stairs. Down the hallway. Back to my room. And I saw it. Smelled it. Gasoline. They doused my room in gasoline. My bed. My curtains. My carpet. Everything. They were going to lock me in and set it on fire. From the outside. So it looked like an electrical fault. An accident. Tragic. Unavoidable. Jesus, I prayed desperately, tears streaming down my face. Jesus, where are you? You promised. You promised. They threw me into the room. I stumbled. Fell. Hit the floor hard. The smell of gasoline burned my nose. Made me dizzy. My father appeared in the doorway. He held a match. Just one match. I loved you, he said quietly. I need you to know that. I loved you. But you betrayed everything. And this is mercy. You'll die quickly. Painlessly. Better than you deserve. He struck the match. The tiny flame flickered. Grew. Steadied. And he dropped it. Time slowed. I watched that match fall. Saw it tumble through the air. Saw it hit the gasoline-soaked carpet. And the world exploded in fire. Flames erupted. Everywhere. All at once. Orange. Red. Yellow. Hungry. Consuming. Racing toward me like living things. The heat hit me like a physical force. The smoke filled my lungs. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't see. Couldn't think. I was going to die. Jesus wasn't coming. The miracle wasn't happening. I was wrong. I was. And then everything stopped. I don't mean the fire stopped. The fire was still there. Still burning. Still consuming everything around me. But I stopped. Time stopped. Reality stopped. Because he was there. Jesus. Standing between me and the flames. Just like in the garden. Wearing white. Glowing. Radiant. But this time, other people could see him too. I heard screams from the hallway. My father. My uncles. The guests who'd followed to watch. What is that? Who is that? There's someone in the fire. Jesus turned to look at me. Smiled. That same gentle, loving smile. Then he raised his hand. And spoke. One word. Just one word. But it resonated with power that shook the walls. That vibrated in my chest. That made the fire itself bow. Enough. The flames stopped. Not died. Not went out. Stopped. Frozen. Like someone had hit pause on reality. fire that wasn't moving, wasn't consuming, just suspended. I could see them. The individual flames. Each one caught mid-flicker. Beautiful and terrible and impossible. Jesus walked toward me. Through the frozen fire. It parted for him like a curtain. He reached down. Took my hand. Pulled me to my feet. Told you, he said softly. Warmly. With that hint of playfulness again. Trust me. Then he turned to face the doorway. Where my father and uncles and dozens of witnesses stood, frozen in shock. Terror. Disbelief. And Jesus spoke. But this time, his voice wasn't gentle. It was thunder. It was authority. It was the voice of God himself. This is my daughter. Chosen. Claimed. Sealed with my blood. And you will not touch her. You will not harm her. You will not stand between her and the destiny I have prepared for her. I am the Lord God. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the one who spoke the universe into existence. And I am telling you, this woman is mine. And no power in heaven or earth can change that. This is my testimony. This is my story. This is my life. And every breath I take, every word I speak, every moment I live, it all belongs to him. The one who loved me enough to die for me. The one who rose from the dead to give me life. The one who stopped fire with a single word because he had plans for me. Purpose for me. Destiny for me. I'm alive because Jesus wanted me alive. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure people know his name. His love. His power. His truth. Because he's real. He's here. He's waiting. And he loves you more than you can possibly imagine. Don't wait until fire comes. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you're locked in a room with flames racing toward you. Choose him now. Today. This moment. Say yes to Jesus. And watch him transform your life the way he transformed mine. From death to life. From slavery to freedom. From fear to love. From lies to truth. From fire to glory. Come home. Jesus is waiting. If you've been impacted by this story, please share it. Someone needs to hear it. Someone is trapped in their own fire. Someone is waiting for a miracle. Let this be their sign. Let this be their hope. Let this be the voice that leads them to Jesus. For resources, support, or to connect with ministries that help ex-Muslims and persecuted believers, please reach out. You're not alone. You're not forgotten. Jesus sees you. And we see you too. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen.